Hi, hello guys. Clara here again, and I am back with 3 more paranormal stories that actually happened to me when I was a teenager. Starting from my first job and ending at one of the most haunted places in Alabama. So in our usual manner, let's just jump right to it. Now, the first story, like I said, happened at my first job. It wasn't actually at my first job, it was after my first job, when I'd come home. Now, after I'd leave work, I'd go over to my boyfriend's house and I'd spend time with him. I'd spend an hour and 30 minutes, as much time as I could, and then I would go home. Now, he's now my ex, by the way. And when I would get home, I had this really, really irrational fear that an old woman was going to come running up to my car, begging for something, and I wasn't going to be able to make out what she wanted, and she was going to get very persistent about getting what she wanted, even though I could not understand it. And for some reason, this really scared me. I was scared of this woman. And on top of that, when I would pull in, there was a window on the garage. And in this window, you could see boxes kind of piled up just to the bottom of the window. But I was always, again, super scared that I was going to see a man wearing a hat standing in that window. And I don't know where I made these ideas up from. It makes no sense. Neither of these, I remember seeing a movie of or a paranormal show of. It might be possible, but I don't remember it specifically. I don't remember anything that scared me, and at that time, I really wasn't scared of the paranormal. So it doesn't make much sense of me being scared of that, but this actually scared me to the point where I would run to my door at night, and I would have trouble unlocking my door like they do in the horror movies because of how fast I would try to do it. And it really, really scared me. And it continues to this day, but it's not near as bad. It just feels like there's someone there, and that I should probably hurry. Sometimes it feels like there's a specific person or thing there. Like, I've felt a woman before, and I felt like I should hurry up and get inside. And I also felt like if I didn't hurry up, an animal was going to get me multiple times. I do live in an area surrounded by woods, so that might be why, but I've never been attacked by a wild animal. I love animals. I love them to death, but I'm careful with them, so I don't know why I would fear that either. The fear itself does not make a lot of sense to me. That's my only problem with this story, and why I'm including it. So I guess so y'all can make y'all's opinion about it, because I can't make mine. So on to my next story. It's about one morning. I was asleep and I was I was waking up for school. And when I slowly opened my eyes, I saw a face in front of me. And this face looked cartoon-like because it had a very big grin from ear to ear, like literal from ear to ear. And then it had like this line around the lips, or there wasn't lips, it was more of a line for a mouth. And then there was like the cheeks, and they were super big and super red and rosy. And then the eyes were like, the smile was so big that it made the eyes squint shut. And then it had red hair. And it was just smiling back at me, just laying on its side like I was. I was laying on my side. And I freaked out and jumped up, but there was just an empty side table. There's nothing there. There was a light on it, and I had a panda bank on it. I can show it to you guys. I lied, it's really high and I can't show it to you guys. But It's a panda bear bank. It has no detailed really, except for like some coloring over the eyes and mouth. But the thing is it was facing sideways, and its face was not facing me, and it was not sideways, it was sitting straight up. So that's why it couldn't have been the panda bear bank, because I would have been staring at its leg and the coin slot, not the face at all. And the last story of tonight is probably going to be the longest, and it is what happened to me when I went to Sloss Furnace. Sloss Furnace is a well-known haunted place in Alabama. You can look it up online and find out anything you want about it. Me and my mother decided to go to a meet and greet for like celebrity ghost hunters, and then you get to ghost hunt with them. You can buy their merchandise and have like ask them questions and stuff. And so we decided to go, and I got to meet Brad and Berry Klinge from Discovery Channel's Ghost Lab that aired back in, I think, the late 2000s. And that was super, super cool, and that was the main reason why we went, was to meet them. And the other people that were also there was a paranormal writer, someone from Ghost Hunters International. I didn't recognize him whatsoever. And then they also had a local paranormal group, and it was like Warrior Paranormal. And we got really excited because warriors around us, but the problem is they were named after the Warrior River, so that kind of bummed us out. But there would be one paranormal investigator going with each group, and one like VIP guest going with each group, and they were all going to go from place to place to place and do ghost hunting, EVP sessions, camera, pictures, just whatever you brought you could use. And so me and my mom, we brought our voice recorder, and we went with Brad and Berry, of course. And there were only 2 places out of the many places that they took us that things happened. And the first one was in the engine room. And this did not directly happen to me. This actually happened to the VIP guest. One of the brothers were walking around the room, and he was calling out to the ghost. Now, the legend behind the engine room, I would like to tell you first, is that there was a man, and he was on lunch, and it was a hot summer, because summers get really hot down here in Alabama sometimes. It was one really hot summer, and he wanted a cool breeze, and the engine lets off a cool breeze. So there's this column right by one of the engines, and when the engine was on, it was said to let off a slight breeze, so he would stand by it and eat his lunch. Well, eventually that slight breeze, if you got close enough, turned into a slight suction, and it sucked him in. And his co-workers knew what happened, but it was completely pointless to stop it because he was already obliterated, basically. So, and they couldn't help him, but by the time the engine stopped, he would be nothing anyway. So they kept the engine running until the end of the day, when they'd have to shut it off anyway. And that's when they went down to the bottom and collected anything they really could. And so the paranormal investigator was calling out to this alleged spirit that had died in this tragic accident. And all of a sudden he screamed. And he said he saw from the belt up a man with his arms crossed. He had red hair and a red beard. And he looked kind of like the brawny man, and he was in a plaid shirt. And he was just standing there smiling at him. And he was specifically, at the time, calling him out, saying he didn't think that he could do anything. That he didn't think he was really there. So I think he kind of proved to him that he was. Now, the really awesome thing about where this was captured was they actually had a camera pointed directly down the side of the building that it happened on. Now, the way the engine room is set up is you walk into this one room, then you walk down a hallway where there's a stairwell, and then you can walk straight into the engine room. In the engine room, there's 2 big engines. You can walk in between the engines, and on the far side of the engine. And then the front part has a lot of space in between it. And there's also like a piping area towards the back. Or front, actually it's the front. And then to the side, there's more like steam valves and things like that. And there's columns. And that's where the brawny man was standing, was against these columns. And they had set up the camera facing directly down the side, the far wall to the left side. They faced the camera, and we got to view the footage, and there was a purple-blue light that shone that would have been from a head to waist. And it was about head to waist on Barry. It's a little shorter. And it was scary. It was pretty creepy to know that that happened in the room that I was standing. And I wasn't only standing in, I was standing there staring at Barry when it happened. Brad. It happened to Brad. I am so sorry. It happened to Brad, but I was standing there watching him when it happened to him. And I did not see a flash of light. Then, right after we left there, we went to the place called the Breezeway. And at the Breezeway, they said to be getting a lot of activity, so we got really excited. But when we got to the Breezeway, I didn't see much going on. I just saw like a lot of people moving around and stuff. And then I kind of realized that these people were behind columns again that were impossible to be behind because there was a wall with a fence. And like I was seeing elbows and legs and knees and stuff poke out, but you could not stand behind these columns whatsoever. It was kind of creepy. And also there was a space in between two big pieces of machinery. I don't know what they were, but it was just the space. And there was a catwalk on one side, then a catwalk on the other. And I saw something dart from one side to the other on the other catwalk, because we were standing in the breezeway. That was one catwalk, was the breezeway. And we were talking actually to the paranormal investigator that was with our group. We, as in me and my mother. And he showed us a video, which is how I know what it was. And when he showed us a video, like, I was slowly getting dizzy when we got to the breezeway, but by the time he showed us the video, I started wobbling. I was kind of swaying back and forth. I couldn't keep my balance. Occasionally, like, my feet would kind of step over one another. And my mom commented on it, but of course, me being me, I told her I'm completely fine and not to worry. And I tried to kind of take a step back from viewing the video because it was a small screen, so we were huddled around it. So once the video was over, I took my step back and I almost fell. And my mom caught me. So my mom and the paranormal investigator actually had to help me over to this wall that I actually just told you about that made it impossible to stand behind these columns. And me and my mom sat down on it. I leaned forward so I was not touching the fence that came out of the concrete, but she was. And the section of fence that we were leaning against, well, she was stapled on the column right next to her. And she looked at me and said, "Stop moving the fence." And I said, "I'm not moving the fence. I'm not touching the fence." And I motioned towards my back, and she saw nothing was touching the fence. Like, I was scooted forward, I was leaning forward, I wasn't touching the fence. But I was feeling very dizzy. I was actually about to fall on the ground. And she said, "Why is this fence moving?" And the paranormal investigator said that sometimes they like to move the fence. I'm sorry. I do apologize. The paranormal investigator said that sometimes the spirits do like to play with the fence. So, that was really, really creepy. And that is what happened to us at Sloss, and Yeah. Also, that's how I found out that that the way the Ghost Adventures guy Zach acts on camera is the same way he acts off camera. Is what they said. Oh, and a little fact for Sloss Furnace: if you have ever seen the Ghost Adventures episode, Shack, whatever his name is, Shag, I think it's Shag. He's not real. He has never been real. What he was a made-up character. For every Halloween, they have a haunted house in the haunted house. Well, haunted factory. They have like a reach out and grab you, scare you haunted house. And they made up Slag. Okay? That is what Slag is. Was never real. Slag never walked the grounds of Sloss. Slag is not real. They have no idea who told Ghost Adventures that. Like, that employee was fired long before the people that own it now own it. They don't know. And he's not a real guy, so please, please, please stop talking about him like he's real. He's not real. He's never been real. He has been a character this entire time. He is no more real than anyone out of The Importance of Being Earnest or any Disney movie that you have ever seen. I am sorry. So, on that note, y'all have a wonderful day. Y'all have a wonderful night. Y'all have a wonderful whatever it is. I'm having a great day. You should too. Bye.